respected Raja Najawat Hussain Sahab, Sayyid Nazir Gilani Sahab, Zafar Qureshi Ahmad Sahab, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Friends of Kashmir group in the European Parliament for inviting me to attend this international conference on Kashmir. I appreciate the efforts of the group to contribute towards finding out a peaceful settlement of the Kashmir dispute. Thank you, Nazir Gilani Sahab, as well, for raising some very important academic points regarding the Kashmir conflict. The dispute on Kashmir is really a big conflict of the present times, because it has pushed a great chunk of population into the abyss of death and destruction. The conflict has swallowed over 500,000 people since 1947. The main topic of today's conference, as was underlined on the invitation letter, is the challenges and the prospects about the Kashmir dispute. Those people who are involved in the activities regarding Kashmir should indeed review from time to time the challenges thrown by the dispute. Despite the points raised by Sayyid Nazir Gilani Sahab and the emphasis made by McIntyre, if you ask me what is the main and top of the list challenge regarding Kashmir dispute, is how to convince the world that Kashmir is not a bilateral issue between Pakistan and India. In my opinion, the international community has failed to recognize the dispute as such. India is constantly denying the right to self-determination to the people of Kashmir, who are showing a tough resistance against India's use of brute force and its intransigent approach. The two countries, Pakistan and India, are both nuclear powers. The two countries during the last 7 decades have always remained on the brink of war, and any confrontation between them can turn into a nuclear catastrophe. The core issue between Pakistan and India is Jammu and Kashmir. As such, peace and stability, not only in South Asia but all across the globe, is endangered due to the dispute over Kashmir. The situation does not only demand reconciliation or mediation, but the United Nations, for the interest of world peace, has to intervene directly under Chapter 7 of the UN Charter to find out a lasting solution of the conflict. As has been repeatedly said, that India, Pakistan, and the international community have agreed through the UNSC resolutions that a plebiscite will be held in Jammu and Kashmir to determine the future of the territory. 7 decades have passed, but these resolutions have not been implemented. This is a challenge to the United Nations as how it gets its resolutions implemented. The world body has failed miserably on this count so far. The human rights violations perpetrated by the Indian troops in occupied Kashmir are an SOS for the world conscience. A genocide is going on in the territory, and Indian occupational troops are brazenly committing crimes against humanity. There are confirmed reports that the troops are now using chemical substance to destroy properties and kill people during their cordon and search operations. The Kashmiri youth are blinded by the use of pellet guns. The reports of World Human Rights bodies like Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch are evidence to the fact that it is actually a carnage in all its manifestations which is being carried out in Indian occupied Kashmir. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 31 basic human rights enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And the fact is that each and every of these is being trampled over in occupied Kashmir. We have an international criminal court established by Rome Statute. The challenge is how to prosecute those who are involved in the genocide and crimes against humanity in Jammu and Kashmir. India is not party to this statute, but still, how UN mechanism can be used to bring Indian perpetrators of crimes against humanity to justice. This is a challenge. A new challenge has emerged after the Indian government openly declared that it plans a change in the demographic composition of Jammu and Kashmir. The government has the realization that Article 370 and 35A of Indian Constitution are impediments in its way in this regard. As such, it has initiated a process to abrogate these articles. The objective is to bring Indians to Jammu and Kashmir and convert the majority of Kashmiris into a minority. This is a direct attack on the very essence of the Kashmiris' right to self-determination. I agree with Sayyid Nazir Gilani Sahab that after 30th March 1951, the laws which were passed or imposed on Jammu and Kashmir have no relevance after UN resolution said that any constituent assembly of Jammu and Kashmir cannot determine the future of the territory. But this is just an academic discussion, and we should have these discourses to be discussed in our debates and discussions. And such discussions can be very fruitful. But the question is that India is occupying Jammu and Kashmir. And if you see from the academic point of view, it has no case of occupation. It has no case at all. So practically, when you see that there has been a law, an article which was added to Indian Constitution, Article 35A, which preserved the right of the Jammu and Kashmiri people to have their own state subject laws. And that is now to be abrogated. What will be the implications and the ramifications? So what is to be done now? We have to use every avenue to stop India from abrogating the article because the abrogation will facilitate India to make the Kashmiris, the genuine Kashmiris, a minority in Jammu and Kashmir. The demographic change in Jammu and Kashmir will be a material change in the disputed territory. And it will change the results to India's favor of a plebiscite whenever held. So the challenge is how to stop India from altering the demographic composition of the territory. When India holds elections in Jammu and Kashmir, we cite two resolutions, one of 1951 and the other of 1957. And on the basis of these resolutions, we say that by way of holding elections in Jammu and Kashmir, India cannot decide the fate of the territory and the fate of the people of Kashmir. Is there any way that we strive for a resolution by the United Nations to tell India that in a disputed territory like Jammu and Kashmir, you cannot alter the demographic composition of the territory? This is a challenge. India recently spurned Pakistan's offer of talks, and Pakistan defined it well by saying that it vindicated India's arrogance and intransigence. The challenge is how to bring India to a negotiating table while agreeing to initiate a peaceful process of resolving the Kashmir dispute. Ladies and gentlemen, amidst all these gloomy and somber realities, few promising developments create a ray of hope. Conferences and seminars, as we have the event of today, will certainly help in making a beginning towards the world's coming to the rescue of the people of Kashmir. Number two, the debate on Kashmir situation on January 19, 2017 in the UK Parliament was widely appreciated. On this occasion, a motion was tabled which supported Kashmiri's right to self-determination while upholding relevant UN resolutions. It was also encouraging that the all-party parliamentary group on Kashmir in the British Parliament started an inquiry regarding the situation of Kashmir. A delegation of the group, as you heard in the beginning, visited Pakistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir few days before. We wish that India would also allow the group to visit its occupied part of Kashmir. It is also encouraging that the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has issued a report on 14 June 2018 projecting the history of Kashmir dispute and the human rights violations in Jammu and Kashmir. The report is first of its kind. The new head of the UN Human Rights has upheld the position taken by her predecessor. Lastly, as far as prospects are concerned, let us hope that the developments as mentioned above would open new avenues for a permanent and sustainable solution of the Kashmir dispute. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Jamul Islam Sahib.